Hi, welcome to Changemakers, a smarter school podcast exploring how to live a successful and happy life. I am Katlego Motlogelwa, your host. On every episode, I talk to great thinkers and doers from different walks of life who are at the forefront of positively impacting society. Our conversations focus on their specific journeys to achieving their goals. We talk mindsets, books, advice, and tools they use to keep them motivated. All the key ingredients you need for a happy and fulfilling life. I hope you enjoy this next episode.
Later on, there's one saying that I like the most. It says that it is not the movement of the clock that produces the newness of life. It is the movement in your mind. It is not the movement of the clock that produces the newness of life. It is the movement in your mind. So sometimes we think that, I'm old, I'm a grot man, therefore this and that and that. But it's not like that. The moment you start changing and channeling your mind, that's when the newness of life starts. So one thing that I'd like to say to the people out there who are watching is that let's work more on changing our mindsets, but above all, do whatever you want to do. If it makes sense to you, do it with no limitations and do it now. The best time to start something is now. Do it now, of course, with a strategy, but do it now. Don't postpone, do it now. The rest you'll figure it out as you go.
We have often heard about the importance of reading. Quotes like "a reading nation is a winning nation" come to mind. Yet our country's literacy rates leave much to be desired. According to the 2016 Progress in International Reading Literacy Study, 8 out of 10 grade 4 learners cannot read for meaning across all languages. Mind-Newtrition has taken upon itself to be part of the solution to this colossal problem. Or should I say pandemic. This week on the Changemakers podcast, I had the pleasure of talking to my acquaintance and definitely future collaborator, Baphile Duba, the founder of Mind-Newtrition. The moment you start changing and channeling your mind, that's when the newness of life starts. These are Baphile's words, which I took as a key tenet of his organization. Listen to this episode to learn more about how Mind-Newtrition is using reading as a tool to transform mindsets and build better societies in South Africa and beyond. Enjoy. Hi, Baphile Duba. How are you, my man?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, my man. How's it? Are you good?
I'm well. It's been a while since we last spoke. Glad to have you on this Changemakers podcast.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for having me. I think the last time we engaged, was it 2 or 3 months back?
Yeah.
I think it's been a while though.
It's been a while. Many won't know because some of these things are hidden. You and I did. You were my guinea pig when I started testing the podcasting platform. How to even ask questions because I'm not a broadcaster, and you were just giving me tips of how to do it. Our recording was so bad, worse than the ones that I've published, and we're like, nah, it's fine. Let's not put this out. We will do another run. So I'm glad that you were able to make it today.
Yeah, no stress, my man.
So yeah, man.
I'm behind the vision.
Where did you grow up? What did you study? And what are you currently doing?
So Baphile Duba is from the United States of Africa, in a small province called South Africa in the Eastern Cape, Matatiele. That's where I grew up. That's where I studied. And then I completed matric in a small town called Yuki. That's where I completed matric. And then after that, I came to Johannesburg. Had to upgrade my matric. It was not too proper. I had to just boost it a bit so that I can gain entrance to a higher institution. Did that. I think that is the year where magic happened, because my first year in Joburg, from the Eastern Cape, first time outside of the province, when I got here, the environment just spoke to me something different, that there's more to life than what I've been exposed to back there at home. Even my thinking started changing. I knew that I can't just be an average person, because now, you see a nice car, you see someone who's doing great things, and you just always get inspired that one day I'll be there. One day I'd like to make a difference. One day I'd like to leave a mark. And it's possible. If these guys are doing it, then I can also do it. So that was the year, my first year in Joburg, that was the year whereby I feel like a lot of rethinking of things happened in my life. Then after upgrading, I got accepted at UJ for an extended diploma in transportation management. The why behind me upgrading, I wanted civil engineering. Sometimes when you are growing up in high school, the only few careers you are exposed to is engineering, law, medicine, and you can't qualify to all of those things. So I got accepted for transportation. First year doing it, I was in love with it. I loved it actually. Second year doing it, I was still fine. And then after that, that's when the passion to start my own thing and that entrepreneurial spirit got ignited. That no. Yes, you are studying, but you can't be fully focused on this. That's when other opportunities started opening up.
Second year, that's when the entrepreneurial spirit sort of kicked in. What exactly was that, and which direction did you want to go? This was in your second year. Can you just take us through that a bit?
Okay, so the first year I got to Joburg. Yes, I was upgrading my matric, but I also had a business idea, and I was just working on that on the side. There's a place called the Business Place in the CBD, so I kept on going to those guys, just asking for advice. This is the idea. How do I then go forward with it? And then as time went on, it slowly faded away. I stopped with it. I did my first years. I wasn't active. And then second year, that's when I started noticing that, no, man, I have to do something. I can't just be fully consumed by academics. And then I joined an entrepreneurship accelerator program, which was facilitated by our two projects while doing school. So I attended that for about 6 months. And in that space, that's when I felt alive. More than how I felt when I was at school, I felt alive. And the environment I was in, it was a lot of older people, and I was the youngest, way younger than the guys that were there. So even that alone, it spoke to me that I'm in a space full of old people as young as I am, who want the same thing that I want. If I can just continue pushing, very soon I might get what I want and what I'm championing for. After that, I started. So to be part of that program, you have to trade. Within the first 10 days of the program, you have to be busy with something. You have to trade. So with the limited resources that I had at that time, and something that was practical for me, I traded. I did sweets around campus. It was actually good. And then there was a time whereby I noticed that, okay, sweets, I feel like this phase is over now. I need to advance. That process of metamorphosis, it had to happen. And then I went to t-shirts. I sold t-shirts with African-related content on the chest. Be it Africa is my DNA, your Steve Biko. It was related to Africa and the history of Africa. Sold those. I would buy them for about 100 rands and sell them for 150. Sold around, but sales were not too good. I then found a stand at Maboneng, that market there. So I would go there on Saturdays, display my stuff. But I noticed that the sales that I was getting, on average per day, I would get one sale. So from that one sale, I would make $50. So it was $10 to go from Auckland Park to the CBD, and then I would walk to Maboneng. And then during the day, I have to eat something. I have to go back again. So you get to notice that in this $50, actually, I didn't make anything, basically. And it would consume a lot of hours of my time because the whole day I'm there. I noticed that I need to rethink the strategy. And then another friend of mine, who I knew him from campus, he was on an internship. He did hospitality management. So in one of these BNBs, he was working there. And he was just saying that there's a lot of feet of traffic. Tourists, yes, tourists. There's a lot of people who are tourists that are entering there, and it would be nice to have my products displayed there in the foyer, and then I can charge my price, and then they charge their price. When there's a sale, they give me my card, they take their card. It made sense. In that way, I would cut the admin of going to Maboneng, because I would just display my stuff. When they need stock, I just restock, and then that was it. But that didn't go so well because of the quality of the t-shirts that I was selling. A lot of clients started complaining, and it made sense. And I was like, okay, I have to pause on that. That's when Mind-Newtrition. Now, after that,
I want to track back before we start talking Mind-Newtrition. I want to track back. I mean, you said some when you introduced yourself, you said you are from the United States of Africa, and you're calling South Africa, which is a country, a province. So and then later you speak about selling T-shirts, with the African print and telling African stories. So that makes me think that there's something deeper in there. So do you just mind, just explaining that sort of your take on that? Why do you see yourself, or rather see Africa as a country, and South Africa as a province, and what do you love so much about Africa that you even wanted to sell and tell African stories?
One thing that makes me so passionate about the African continent is the power that we possess.
Yeah, that's the word I wanted, passionate. It was not coming.
So, yeah, okay, it was weekend.
English.
Yeah. So I'm very passionate about it, because I think from the transition from the Eastern Cape, just coming to Joburg, there you get to see that there's other people out there who has got a lot of interesting characteristics, and the way they do things, it's so fascinating. It's not only Xhosa people who exist. So the moment you are open to learning that, you start seeing that there's a lot of valuable lessons that we can learn from each other. And then when we start working as a collective, we all have got our own competitive advantage, and things and lessons that we can learn from each other's cultures. And there's just beauty. I'm not so sure if you've engaged with other African people, but you get to see that, oh, wow, what you guys are doing or what you guys stand for, it's so interesting. I actually have learned from what you are saying, or even just traveling outside of South Africa. I've had the opportunity to go to Botswana and also Swaziland. And when I was there, you get to see, Manuguti, actually there's a lot of beauty in Africa that we are not paying attention to. And the moment we start working as a collective and start acknowledging each other, and stop being discriminative against each other, then we can move forward. And there's not much difference. When you start listening to their stories, you see that I can relate in this. Yes, different cultures, but there's a lot of similarities that exist. And then if we can just work as a unit, then we can actually go very far.
Yeah. So, I mean, that African passion is sort of interweaved into what you're doing with Mind-Newtrition. So do you just take us through what you are doing with Mind-Newtrition? What's the vision, and what sort of activities are you currently doing through that organization?
Okay, so basically, I'll try to link Mind-Newtrition and what we were just talking about Africa and all of that. And the main vision behind it is that we would like to create a reading society, a reading African society, because I believe that through us reading, there's a lot of things we get to be exposed to. There's a lot of information that has always been there, but now we've just made aware of what is currently happening. And once we've got reading societies, then that's when we are going to start being able to see a lot of lies that have been told to us, a lot of the power that I spoke about that we possess through reading. And then a lot of problems that we are currently faced with could be easily solved because we are going to be exposed to a lot of information that is readily available, that is there. It's just that we don't engage with text, we don't engage with reading, we are not open to new knowledge. We like second-hand information. If someone has read something, they come tell us, and then we are fine. but we don't like digging in deep on our own and finding out the truth. So that's just what we are about, promoting the culture of reading. But we also say that don't just read and then that's it. Read anything that interests you, because the more you read something that interests you, the more interest you will get and the more information you'll get out of it. What the current education system is not doing, there you are prescribed books that you read, whether you like it or not, you have to go through that. That's why we don't get as much value as possible from the academic institutions. But now we say that read anything that interests you. And then apart from that, when you're done with it, you present it to us. Now, when you are presenting it to us, you get to enhance your public speaking skills, your ability to engage with an audience, your confidence levels. They are being developed throughout that process, because yes, a lot of us have got nice business ideas. A lot of us have got great experience in things, but that confidence to share our ideas confidently with the masses or with other people, or even just ideas, we're sharing them with potential clients or potential investors, we don't have it. And that's one thing that I've noticed that we've got in common as Africans. We don't have that confidence in ourselves. So through that strategy, we're trying to rebuild their confidence, because a lot of times we buy confidence. If someone is confident in what they're doing, then you are most likely to be taken up by what they are selling. And also part of what we do in Mind-Newtrition, we engage on societal issues and current affairs. We'll just discuss what is happening within our societies, within our communities, what is currently happening, identify the problems, but we don't stop there. We get to analyze and get to come up and try to come up with potential solutions as to this is what's happening, but what is it that we can do to try and solve this problem? Because as much as, yes, we are pushing for us to be able to identify problems, but we are mostly looking at developing critical thinkers and people who are solutions orientated. Yes, there are problems, but what could be the potential solutions? And the more we channel our thinking like that, then a lot of challenges and problems that exist could be easily solved if we just change our approach to problems.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just a gist of what we are about.
That's lovely, man. So, I mean, how are you doing that currently? How are you getting Mind-Newtrition out? And, are this is there an online format? Do you do like workshops? How do people get to connect with your organization?
So basically, how we get our services out there, we operate as a social club, whereby we get to meet on a weekly basis, and throughout our sessions, we discuss a certain topic, and that topic is mostly influenced by current affairs. This is what's happening, and then we take it to our platform, and then we engage more about that. Because we've noticed that a lot of times there's a lot of experts and audience, and audience are hardly given time to express themselves. What is it that they think? It's always that expert who comes and shares, and then there's one or two questions that the audience shares, asks, and then that's it. The conversation is done. But our approach was different, that we're not going to have experts. We're not going to invite any famous people. We ourselves are going to have this conversation, and just to hear each and everyone's opinions. And honestly, you would be surprised with the level of content that one could get from the audience, and you become surprised with, oh wow, sure, this is very informative. These strategies or these approaches, I never thought of them. And that is just a platform that allows people to voice out whatever they think, whatever observations they've seen, and whatever questions they've gotten. We just talk. We just talk. And through that process alone, if you are not a reader, if you are not too curious to know things, after a session, most of the times you feel the need to work on yourself because of what people have shared and the level of information they've got. You see that, no ways, I have to change my patterns. I have to develop strategies as to how can I add more information and knowledge to me so that I can also reason like these guys. So it's that type of environment that motivates one indirectly to become a reader. And then if there was a book that you were reading, you are given a chance to present it there. That's where now your presentation skills are enhanced. And then the audience, if there's something they didn't get, they'll ask you questions, and then there you have to answer on the spot. That also develops you to be able to think on your feet and give a nice, solid answer that has got substance on the spot.
Sure. No, so I mean, I get that part, that Mind-Newtrition, what the vision is to get people reading, people well versed on African stories, and, to have also self-belief and self-confidence, and to be better communicators, right? And better thinkers, more well-rounded intellects, to solve the problems that we face in our country and more in our continent as well. But you spoke earlier about being interested in entrepreneurship, your interest being sparked by seeing someone driving a nice car and thinking, I'm gonna get there. So I get your North Star, right? This is your mission, this is what you want to do. But now, how does Mind-Newtrition do that for you? Is there a way that you are monetizing these activities currently, or what's the vision going forward of trying to make sure that you actually eat from something that you're passionate about? Because I mean, most of us are passionate about many things, right? And that's what people say. They say, good entrepreneurs, good businesses are the ones that solve problems, and it sounds like, oh, it's easy. But now, how do you turn something like this, Mind-Newtrition, into a sustainable, business, and something that can actually feed you and your family, and for you to drive a nice car if that's what you want? How do you get there?
So basically, looking at what we do and what I just explained earlier on, that one, there's no cost to it. It's just to empower the society. But now it was a question of how do I then, as you're asking, with what I'm doing, the structure of it, there's no profits involved. But now there's that entrepreneurial side of me, and that needs to be happy at the end of the day. And then we looked at ways, how can we advance what we currently had, to generate some income, and also to sustain the organization, also to take care of its people. The first one is, it is more on the art of persuasion within sales and in general program, and we structured our programs to such an extent that all of them are 90% practical, 10% content, but we're pushing you. After that program, you get a skill. You can be able to do what we're teaching you. So that's how now we then get to make some income for the organization and the business side of it. And all these programs that we offer, they are at a different costs, ranging from 1.5 to at most 2.5. So they're highly affordable. That's the strategy for now. Of course, throughout the sessions that we usually offer, there are books that are being sold. We also sell merchandise, your hoodies, your caps and t-shirts, just to make some income on the side.
Okay, now sounds good.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're saying 1.5 to 2,500. Yeah, it's affordable, but I guess it depends who the market is, right? Because that's almost our minimum wage in SA, man. So that could be someone's monthly salary, and I mean, the skills that are coming out are very, necessary and pivotal for our society to develop, so I want to ask you sort of two related questions, right? So currently, how is the business side of things going? Are you getting people attracted and actually running with those workshops? These are like workshops, right? Sort of, because you're saying they are very practical, and how many people are people coming? What maybe other challenges of getting people attracted? And then two, have you looked at maybe selling some of these things to maybe philanthropic organizations which have similar or aligned visions, and say, we can probably, customize this program for this type of community. This is what you guys need to pay us.
In terms of how is it going, the business side of it. And honestly, there's a great interest from a lot of people, ranging from high school students, tertiary students, even adults, young professionals, people. I think the oldest individual or student we had was around 50 years in terms of age. So you get to see that the services that we offer, they cater for everyone who's looking at developing themselves. So there's been a huge interest. We've been having a lot of requests and inquiries as to how can I do this? Can you guys come to a certain province? And we're slowly trying to come up with a strategy as to how can we actually accommodate all these guys and all these people that are super interested in this program. Some have been calling for online classes. But with that one, as much as it is convenient, but when you are now trying to teach someone public speaking skills, when it is done online, there's a lot of value that they're not going to get because you are not engaging with the real audience. So that has been a challenge. Looking, of course, back because of COVID, in terms of physical engagements, they're not as popular right now as it was back then. So that has been a limitation and a constraint to us. So when things are going back to normal, that's when we're going to be able to fully operate. Right now, it's just a few numbers that we are taking, those numbers that we can accommodate, and then we just train them on public speaking. Public speaking is the one that sells the most, the one that a lot of people are interested in, and the art of selling. A lot of people want to know how to sell, want to know how to persuade, the psychological side of it. In terms of taking it to schools, and we've been on a strategy whereby we were on a leadership tour, which was mainly focused on schools and other philanthropic organizations that are looking at doing change within the societies. And we were doing a leadership tour. And then that leadership tour was just a taste of what we do. A lot of institutions we went to, they wanted more. And we offered them a lot of nice discounts, saying that if you guys can register a certain number of students, this is what we can accommodate. And because of the setting, we are more than willing to offer you guys a nice discount and train their students or train their people that they're dealing with. So we've been engaging more on that. But because of COVID and how things have been, our pace was not as fast as we had planned for. So we're just looking more on going next year, full force, and then just continuing with where we left off with the plan.
So where can people find you and Mind-Newtrition?
So basically, Mind-Newtrition, we are there. Our social media presence is highly active. You can get us on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook as well. We are there. On Twitter, we are at Mind-Newtrition. Instagram at Mind-Newtrition. And then on Facebook, we are Mind-Newtrition. Mind-Newtrition. And then you can also visit our website, which is www.mind-nutrition.org. And then also, if you just want something personal, you'd like to engage us on a call, you can just call our landline, which is 010-218-3640. 010-218-3640.
Yeah, great stuff, man. Because I know you on a personal level. I know that you also a part-time lecturer, huh? So you're doing a lot of things. I'm always interested to ask my guests, like what keeps you going, what inspires you, or when you feel down, how do you get yourself up again and saying, I'm definitely going to be pushing, Mind-Newtrition. You just spoke now about COVID. Someone else could have said, this thing is not working, but you still have that, mentality to think, okay, next year will be better than what it is this year, So how do you keep that state of mind? How do you remain optimistic and pushing as hard as you are?
Honestly, it is peace for me. My peace matters a lot, and I get peace when I do the things that I'm passionate about, serving humanity and just doing business. I get peace from that. Yes, there's a lot of pressure, but I get peace from that. The moment I do something different that is not within those lines, I start losing my peace. So that's when I start noticing that there's something wrong that I'm doing. I have to go back to the drawing board and see where did I go wrong. What is it that I'm now doing that I didn't do before? How did I get to lose my peace? And yes, of course, as you said, the going gets tough a lot of times. And one of the things that keeps me going is just to hear people's feedback about the progress and the things that I've done. Sometimes when you're doing things, you are not paying attention as to the people who are being impacted in what you are doing. Yes, you are doing something to impact people, but the moment they come back to you and say that, hey, Ndwana, you remember the talk that you had, or remember this when you did this and that, hey, it spoke to me. Thanks a lot. Just keep on pushing. Those words alone, they can fuel me for months, man. One person for months. So that is where most of the times I get my energy. And yeah, I mean, I get inspired by that a lot.
Before we're nearing to a close, because I don't want to keep you. I know you have students waiting for you there to come and teach them. I want to touch it, but as a person who's advocating for a lot of reading, what's one book that you feel like, this book, after I read it, changed my entire perspective or changed my life, that you feel like most, if not everyone, should read it? Which book is that and why?
The Alchemist, it's a powerful book. Right now I'm busy with 48 Laws of Power. I think it's also a great book with a lot of nice principles. And also The Art of War. Those three books I could recommend, but since you said one, I'll gravitate more towards The Alchemist. And one of the reasons why I love that book is because it is just simple. How the story is narrated, it's just amazing. It is a simple story, simple storyline, but when you pay attention to the detail, you start noticing that there's a lot of valuable life lessons there. For example, the guy started a journey in pursuit of a treasure, but his main focus was the treasure, yes, but he enjoyed the moment, each and every step that he engaged on or he encountered. He made sure that he's enjoying it. And that alone is telling us that as much as we're pushing success, but make sure that you live in the moment. And as much as you're living in the moment, you're going to meet great company, people that you start calling family or great friends. But when time comes for you to advance and leave that place, focus on growth, continue moving forward. Because sometimes it becomes easy for us to become comfortable. You were on a journey. You met people along the journey. You start noticing that, man, these guys are actually great. I can call them family. You slowly lose focus and forget about the journey that you were embarking on. So that's one thing I learned about that book that just spoke to me, that yes, as much as we're chasing for treasure, we think that there's a certain destination, but we actually get to notice that treasure is where we started, basically. So it's just quite interesting, and there's a few lessons that I remember about it, that most of the times, if you just fearless, you just do whatever you want to do, whatever makes sense to you, then go for it. When that guy started as a shepherd, when he stopped and sold all his sheep that he had, he was embarking on a journey, going to a place whereby he didn't know. He has heard of it, but he never been there before. And he took that leap of faith. He took that risk. And the money that he got mugged. He started at a zero, but did he stop? No, he didn't stop. He made alternatives. He came up with strategies. Right now, this is the current situation. This is what I'm struggling with. How do I then advance myself so that I can get to the treasure that I'm looking for? There's a lot of lessons I've learned from that book.
In this Mind-Newtrition project that you're currently pushing. So I can see that there are a lot of similarities between your life and actually the book that you're saying you feel like it shaped how you think today. So yeah, that's quite interesting, man. So any last
Yeah.
words for, our change makers out there, in terms of pushing, finding their passion, and waking up and doing, or rather changing the world to be whatever they want it to be. I mean, it does not have to be on a big scale, even as an individual, having your own personal goals. How do you have any last words? What do you think is an advice maybe that you would give your young self?
My advice would come as a form of a saying. I'll explain why later on. There's one saying that I like the most. It says that it is not the movement of the clock that produces the newness of life. It is the movement in your mind. It is not the movement of the clock that produces the newness of life. It is the movement in your mind. So sometimes we think that, I'm old, I'm a grot man, therefore this and that and that. But it's not like that. The moment you start changing and channeling your mind, that's when the newness of life starts. So one thing that I'd like to say to the people out there who are watching is that let's work more on changing our mindsets, but above all, do whatever you want to do. If it makes sense to you, do it with no limitations and do it now. The best time to start something is now. Do it now, of course, with a strategy, but do it now. Don't postpone, do it now. The rest you'll figure it out as you go.
Thanks, man, for coming through. I learned a lot, from you, and I'm inspired by your passion for a better South Africa and Africa. And I think you and I probably, we're gonna have to do a lot of projects. Funny thing, your logo is similar to mine because you have a brain there, I have a brain on this one. So I think most of the things are quite aligned, so I'm looking forward to more conversations with you, learning more from you, and taking forward, what you want to do with Mind-Newtrition, in whatever form. So yeah, all the best with the future, man. Thanks for coming.
Don't stop. My man as well, keep on going. We are there to watch and we are inspired by the journey actually. Get smart is cool out there in the map, and let's take care of Africa. Let's impact Africa. Looking forward to working together as well. That would be great. But yeah, my man, thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening, and thanks to our guest Baphile for his time. Today's episode reminded me of the conversation I had with Motlajo when she spoke about how finding one's passion is not always calculated. That was episode 1 of this podcast. I was also reminded of Diketso Seto's words when he said, "We are doing it now. We are not waiting for assistance or investors. If they do come, they should find us on the way." Baphile embraced challenges, tried out different things, and was open and comfortable to try and fail. This is how we learn, grow, and renew our minds. If you are not failing, you are not learning. In my journey to becoming the best me, I will be taking the public speaking course with Mind-Newtrition soon. No cap. What are you doing next? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, keep safe and sane. This has been a Smarty School production. Catch you on the next episode. Stay smart and keep well. If you enjoyed this episode of Changemakers, please subscribe if you have not already. Help us spread the word by rating and commenting on the podcast. We like hearing from you, as this will help us create better content and reach more people. Share this episode with your friends, family, and colleagues whom you think will benefit or like this sort of content. If you have questions for me or my guest, or topics that you would like us to discuss next time, email me at podcasts@smartyschool.co.za.